morning, Sault Ste. Marie. Welcome to another edition of ONNPoint. We're live on Facebook, live on ONTV. It's just after 11 o'clock on Tuesday, February 18th. On a snowy morning, my guest today is Daniel Laprade. We're going to have an opinion-based political show. I'm wearing my red tie here. I'm going to put the heat on Mr. Laprade after these commercials. We'll start that right after this break.
It's hunting season, so this is probably pretty stupid, right? Actually, hunting accidents kill somewhere around 2 people a year in Ontario. Smoking kills 16,000 a year. So, what's really stupid?
Welcome back to ONNPoint. I'm Andy Martins. We're live on TV and Facebook, and we're getting through the winter. A little rough this morning with all that snow, and welcome the president of KC Security. He's a big man on campus here, sponsor of the morning show with Luann and Tim, Daniel Laprade. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Andy. How are you?
Good. We're going to start off nice and easy, just like the song Proud Mary with Ike and Tina Turner a long time ago. And then we'll get into the heavy political opinion-based show after that. You're a busy guy lately with Bon Sioux and Bush playing Family Day and all of that. Tell me what's going on with all of that.
Yeah, we did the Bon Sioux, Ontario Bon Sioux Winter Carnival. That was from January 31st to February 9th, 57th annual. So that's our 3rd year providing security for Bon Sioux and being a sponsor. So it was very good, very well attended. A little bit of a rough time at the beginning with the weather. It didn't cooperate. It was too warm. Then I think at one point it was too cold.
Right.
One day, but then we got through it, so that was good. We were
talking before the show about how the temperature gets warm now. This week's another good example. It's going to get cold for a couple days, and then it rebounds back for Friday. So it's up and down, no steady either way, weather-wise.
That's right. This year, this winter has been all over the map. You can't seem to predict anything. So we are getting some snow now, I see, but compared to last year, I think this one's been relatively calm.
We really haven't got a lot of snow. I remember 2019 was a lot worse and a lot colder, especially in January and February.
Yes, it was. I believe it was February 25th last year that we got that mega storm.
Right.
I actually came in that morning here, and Tim's guests weren't able to make it in, so I stood in that morning for a spot there. But it was bad. That's the one that shut the city down. So
Right, right. He'll be on Monday too, so Daniel will be here back-to-back shows on Point. All right, my friend, let's start off with this opinion-based show here. The Ontario government, the Ford government, I don't know, they're not doing something right with this teacher strike. This could last through the entire year of 2020. What say you? Something's got to give here.
Yes, something does, and I think both sides really need to figure something out and meet in the middle here. I understand the points of both sides. I'm not going to take sides. I know some teachers, so I don't want to piss anybody off.
Right.
But that being said, the way it's being done is it's not a full-blown strike, so it's putting pressure on, right? And it's not allowing. They're not having to introduce back to work legislation because there's nothing, the school year at this point is not in danger.
But it could be if we keep going on like this.
If it does get to that point, then yes, that legislation might need to be put into place, but you don't want to resort to that if you don't have to, right? You want to be able to bring the parties together and come to a deal. They were able to do it with CUPE, so they should be able to work something out with the teachers.
Well, I heard the Premier backed out of that. The CUPE thing was different. They reneged, but I think they have a rookie education minister who somehow seems lost in all of this process.
Yeah, he's newer to the file. Lisa Thompson was in there beforehand, and I don't think she handled the file so well, and so he was kind of parachuted in and put into this mess. So I think there needs to be some leadership from the senior ministers too, right? Because we know that there's some veterans, in the cabinet. So something needs to happen that both sides can come to a deal, make some concessions, whatever they got to do, and
Well, there will be a full-blown strike for one day on Friday, February 21st, where all the boards, 155,000 teachers, will be walking out. You're not a parent. My kids are out of the school system, but parents have to be getting really angry here, Dan.
Yeah, and I'm not, right? So I can't speak to, what they have to go through. But I mean, I do know that, when the strikes aren't announced well in advance, they have to scramble to get childcare, whatever they have to do, right? If they got enough notice, it's not as bad. They can plan for it. But there has been a few times. And the other problem we are having is all four unions are doing some kind of action,
right,
and they're all over the map. So, for example, actually, I had a meeting with, one of the schools at the Catholic board last week, right, for something related to work. But I have to ask because I got to check. Okay, are they in this day? Are they not in that day? Like, can I go and see the student? Because there was just so many. So this one on Friday is all four. That's concrete, but it definitely created some confusion for parents and made it difficult.
Well, I get it. The Premier's allowing the collective process to play out, but they're not getting their bang for their buck here. There's nothing. Two sides got to give. They're talking, then they're not talking. I mean, this government was elected with a majority mandate, Dan. They're not doing it with this. This is the heat. And how many teachers and parents are going to vote for this government in 2022?
Well, at this point, obviously they're not happy, so it wouldn't look good, right? That being said, like I've mentioned to you before, every political party under every political stripe has had problems with the teachers.
Kathleen Wynne sort of, I can't win a rant, but at least with the Liberal governments from 2003 to 2018, at least you had more or less labor peace in this province.
Yeah.
Now we're going back to the 90s with Mike Harris, where every day somebody's protesting. If I was an MPP, that would get on my nerves, having somebody outside your office every day protesting.
It would, and I mean, anytime you have to make cuts, right, it's it's never going to be met with happiness, I don't think. But the previous government's racking up the deficit doesn't help either. I mean, I'm a business owner, right? I mean, if I could spend 350, I don't even know what it is, billion or whatever that debt is, and just, like it's no big deal, then I'd be, I'd be the biggest company in this country, and I wouldn't care about who was being screwed underneath me, right? So I think there needs to be a balance in there.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not slamming and I'm not promoting that we should cut everything, but at the same time, there needs to be a balance between the, the middle ground.
You hit the nail right on the head of balance. Just because we elected the Doug Ford government doesn't mean we need to go from 0 to 360 in a matter of a year or so.
Right.
We can't go from extreme spending to extreme cutting. You see what the result is out there right now as a result of doing that. He's made a mess of healthcare in the north. I made it clear on social media, I don't think we're getting our bang for our buck with this government.
Yeah, and I know you've referenced Northern Ontario, and I mean, again, it comes down to every party. We do get neglected in the north no matter who's in power. Northern Ontario should pretty much be its own province, because if you're not in the center of the universe in Toronto, you don't matter, right? So it's very tough that, they all promise everything, and, and I've seen it throughout the years. It doesn't matter if it's the NDP, the Liberals, the Conservatives, we're always getting neglected here, so.
Well, but we had the faith. You always say out there, I've been in politics for a long time, we had the faith that when you elect a member of the government, you'll get more of a return, considering Sault Ste. Marie is only one of 2 seats, the other being Vic Fideli in North Bay. But so far, I haven't seen it from Ross Romano. We have not gotten our fair share of things, healthcare, and we just haven't seen it. Level 3 facility is long overdue.
Yeah, I know that you've referenced the level 3 facility, and you know what? We need all levels of government to work together. I feel that there's a disconnect between the provincial, federal, and municipal in this city.
There is, big time.
Instead of everybody working together, they're more worried about their own agendas. So I think what everybody needs to do, the mayor, the MPP, the MP, they all need to work together for the best interest, right? Whether or not they're a liberal, a conservative. We already struggle in this city with a lot of issues, so we need them to all work together to get these issues dealt with. And like you referenced, level 3 is one that is a big file, right?
Well, I mean, the fact is that it needs to be done, and I know Ross was, the health minister was here, but Indigenous file is important, don't get me wrong, but that didn't reference the rest of Sault Ste. Marie in there, and they need to realize that social issues are important to Northern Ontario, to Sault Ste. Marie, and I'm not sure that this government pays attention as much as it should to social issues. But let's take a break, Dan. Don't go anywhere. We'll pick that up right after the break. So we'll be back right after these messages.
Angelo, it's me, Vito. Imbecile, your brother. Listen, you bring 10 gallons of flat eggshell or white paint.
Recently, the Government of Ontario established a $100 million affordability fund to help Ontarians who don't qualify for low-income conservation programs ease the burden of their electricity bill. Whether you rent or own your home, as long as you pay your electric bill, you could qualify. There are 3 levels of support available. The first is a home energy kit with upgrades like smart power bars and LED light bulbs. The second includes Energy Star appliances that help keep things cool during the hot summer months. The third is for electrically heated homes so that your power bills don't break the bank during those long Canadian winters. Plus, all upgrades, including installation, are completely free of charge. Visit affordabilityfund.org or call 1-855-494-FUND to find out if you qualify.
If you're struggling with thoughts of suicide, there is hope and there is help. You matter. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The calls are free and confidential. call 1-800-273-TALK. That's 1-800-273-8255. You are not alone.
Welcome back to ONNPoint. We're live on TV and on Facebook on a snowy Tuesday, February 18th. I'm Andy Martins. A reminder to like us on Facebook and on YouTube. Click on there and become a regular subscriber to the Sioux Online on TV YouTube channel. And we do this every Monday and Tuesday at 11 o'clock. My guest is Daniel Laprade, the president of KC Security. And we're doing things a little differently today. It's an opinion-based show, getting away from the questions. So we're going to turn up the heat on Mr. Laprade again. Dan, we were talking before the show about this government. Mm-hmm. Ross is not working with the mayor or the MP. Terry Sheehan, Christian Provenzano know how to do politics. They both got elected with larger margins in this community than Ross did, and yet I see no effort to work together. And that's got to change. Like you said, this community is being hurt by that.
Yeah, like I was saying before the break, all three parties need to work together, right? You know, and you put the politics aside. Like I said, they come from different political stripes, so you know, sometimes when you have to work together with opposite members, you have to, you know, if it's in the best interest of the community, you have to work together towards that common goal. You know, we've seen it on a few files and a few issues, but it needs to happen on major issues, right? That, whether it's the ferrochrome or this level 3 withdrawal.
It does.
Yes.
And they both champion the ferrochrome thing, but I haven't heard any comments from Ross, and there's serious concerns about the ferrochrome plant. I know it's 5 to 8 years off. Public officials have to come to the plate with the tough issues. It's always easier to get along with people and issues you like, but the challenge is people that you don't like and making it work. That's what my father told me years ago, and I don't see that from Ross Romano.
Well, you know, like I've said in the past, I've had success with Ross when I've had some stuff I've needed dealt with, right? You know, but everybody has a different experience, right? You know, there's people outside his office protesting, or, you know, that being said, you know, I haven't had good experiences with the mayor, right? Whereas you have. So, I mean, you know, and Terry has been a very good help to us too. So, I mean, it all depends on, you know, what the issue is, and if you're right, is it something they want to deal with? Is it easy?
Well, that's right, exactly. Let's get on a couple of more issues with Ontario here, the provincial government. Okay. Healthcare. I had severe issues with my son has healthcare issues, and I needed to talk to Ross. Over 2 years, he hasn't responded. You know, the healthcare system is not what people think it is. When you have meetings, you should not wait for doctors to respond 5 months, 6 months. They need to do better. My son is in Toronto as we speak. He got answers in 2 hours from the hospital in Toronto that he waited 5 months and no specialist gave him the answers. So that's got to change, and people need to communicate this thing and not stay silent. So what say you? Are you happy with the healthcare system in this province?
Well, I mean, you know, comparing it to healthcare systems in other countries and stuff, yeah, okay, we've got a lot to be thankful for. Is there room for improvement? Absolutely. And you mentioned a good point, you know, especially the difference in healthcare here in Northern Ontario versus Toronto. You know, starting with our hospital and all the issues we have when you go in there and you've got to wait hours. And again, nothing against the frontline workers, because I have some in my family and I know a lot, and they do a great job. But there's that disconnect once again, right? And it's not acceptable for people to have to travel, you know, for certain things. They got to go to Sudbury, they got to go to Toronto. I know for a fact my grandmother, because she's, you know, got to travel. She lives in Elliott Lake. She spends more time here in Sault Ste. Marie or Sudbury than anywhere else, right?
Exactly.
So yes, there could be room for improvement. Yes, it's nice that we don't have to pay per se, right? Like our coverage.
I think the socialized healthcare system is breaking down, quite frankly, is what I'm seeing.
Yes, but would you compare it like to something in the U.S., right? Would you want their model of healthcare, or do you prefer having it the way it is here in Canada?
Well, that's a good question. Let's talk about the license plates, the incompetence of this government changing the license plates to blue and white lettering, and now it turns out you can't see them in the dark.
Yeah, it's,
You're a security guy, Dan. What do you think?
Yeah, and you know what? I was very excited to see the new plates because it was nice to have a refreshing brand, or a different color scheme. And then, I haven't really myself had this problem yet because I haven't seen too many of them here. But one of our other guys, messaged me and says I was behind a vehicle and I couldn't get the license plate, because the way the light was reflecting. And I said, well, geez, what's the problem? And then I started seeing that circulating, and I thought, how does this get overlooked? Like you said, you consulted everybody, but did anybody from the government go out at night and actually, no, they don't, because they work 9 to 5. Right. But I mean, does anybody look at this stuff, right?
What's the cost of this incompetence? And I'm sorry, but it reflects on the overall performance when you miss little things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree on this case. I mean, I'm not impressed, right? If you're going to revamp the plates after 30 years, that's fine, right? Everybody updates things, but make sure that they're done properly. So law enforcement or anybody, even the general public, has a hard time if they want to call in a possible impaired driver, then they can't read the plate. How is that good? And Ontario is the most populous province in the country,
Exactly.
13 million people, what are we going to do? So.
All right, let's move off the provincial scene to the federal scene. Dan, I'm not liking the Conservatives again. The nominations are closed at the end of this month, February 27th. I'm not liking these candidates. It's almost like the Democrats in the United States.
Yes, you're right. I mean, I'm not impressed either. Being conservative, I don't see any, good leader here out of all these candidates. It's just strange how, Peter MacKay is like the front runner.
Peter MacKay has his first interview and he walks off. He botched it.
Yeah, and then there was rumors of Stephen Harper potentially coming back and running. I think that time is done. I think they need to move on, but they need a leader that, they're too far to the right. That's the problem, right? They need to move into the center a little bit more. But they have to have the right leader for that. So,
that's right.
And out of this field, I really don't know if there's somebody that fits that bill.
No, and the leaders that possibly could have been better don't want to run. So I don't know what gives with the Conservative Party.
I don't know. You're right, because Rhoda Ambrose was the front runner that everybody was expecting to run, and maybe having a female leader would have been a refreshing change for the party, right? Christy Clark is also ruled out running. So, I mean, you're left with, I think there is a female running, if I'm not mistaken, Andy, but I think she's a backbencher.
Yeah, the member from Sarnia.
Yeah, Marilyn Gladue, I think her name is.
Right.
But, yeah, so, I mean, I don't know, with a minority government, they've got to get a leader in there, and they've got to get that leader ready. Because there could be an election.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
So,
but again, people criticize the Prime Minister, but he's governing at a very tough. He's got his issues with Alberta. People don't want the pipeline. Now they're blockading and shutting down the business of Canada and the railway. I mean, what gives, Dan? And who's driving this agenda here?
Well, I mean, something needs to give. I mean, first of all, he needs to come back to this country, if he already hasn't, and govern the country. I see he canceled his Caribbean trip, rightfully so. We've got a problem here. We got trains that aren't moving. We got things, it's time for him to lead. So he needs to do what he can. I heard him say a comment the other day that he couldn't direct the police to do their job, but I find that interesting because he was able to direct them to stop an investigation. So I really don't see the double standard there, right? I think he needs to make sure that he's here. He shows leadership and he's meeting with these people. I know he had his cabinet meeting with Indigenous leaders, but something needs to happen because They have a right to protest. They have a right to this, yes, but do they have a right to stop the economy and stop the country and bring it to a standstill?
Well, what do you think you should do? He's trying to negotiate the peaceful settlement to this with the indigenous community.
Well, and the frustrating thing is a lot of these areas that they're protesting, all the people, the chiefs have approved this project, right? And there's actually a lot of them that are for it, but there's a select group that's still not, and then so all these protests are starting up in solidarity, and it's across, like you said, it's across the country, here in Ontario.
Who's driving this agenda here? Like, they realize that Canada needs to focus and get going here and not be held hostage?
Well, I mean, to answer who's driving the agenda, I mean, I can't answer that fully.
I think it's the left. It seems like a far left agenda here.
But the pipeline needs to be built. In BC, the court ruled, right? And BC can't stop this either anymore. So something needs to be done.
And there's a lot of cost that is being tied up here. Dan, our time's up. When we're having fun, the time rolls by very quickly.
It sure does.
All right. Thanks for coming in, and we'll see you Monday.
Sounds good.
Okay. We'll be back right after these commercial messages.
In your home, lighting is just as important as style.
With PowerView Motorization from Hunter Douglas, you can schedule your shades to light up the room. Create privacy, or both, automatically. No hands required.
So your shades will always be in the right place at the right time in style. And it's only from Hunter Douglas.
Angelo, it's me, Vito. Imbecile, your brother. Listen, you bring 10 gallons of flat eggshell white paint.
This past year, we've been celebrating our 65th anniversary, dating back to services originating in our community in 1954, which is quite some time ago. It's been a great opportunity this past year to recognize the pioneers, the stakeholders that worked tirelessly to create what we are today. I'm grateful for everything that the families 65 years ago and the people that assembled the organization have done in order for us to achieve the success that we're experiencing 65 years later.
This is On TV.
Welcome back to On Point. Well, a pretty quick show there with Daniel Laprade. I hope you enjoyed the opinion-based show on politics in Ontario and federally. Dan's up again next Monday, the 24th of February. Hard to believe we're in the final week of the month already. And Tammy Obi comes in on Tuesday. And that's it for On Point for a snowy Tuesday. Bob Ross is coming up next on TV. We'll see you next time. I'm Andy Martins. Take care.